In the weeks preceding the retreat, I was faced with some decisions that seemed very important in how my life would proceed. And I made decisions based on what I thought were very reasonable grounds. And within a couple of days of being here, I came to the totally opposite conclusion about how I should proceed when I return home.
About the decision you made?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And I know that you have addressed a little bit about decision-making, choices. I just wonder if you would please illuminate again a process or, yes, some instructions of some sort that would help one make a decision that would be in keeping with awareness.
Well, if you made a decision a few weeks ago, when you were in the situation about which you were making the decision, chances are the situation itself was coloring your decision about that situation. When you come here, you are out of that situation. And not only are you out of that situation, but you are, as it were, in your true nature here. You are going again and again and again to the deepest place in yourself. So here, your thoughts and feelings and your subsequent activities are continually being informed by your deepest self. And it's interesting that when you reconsider your situation from this place, your decision conflicts with the decision that you made a few weeks ago. I would suspect that the decision you make here is closer to the decision you really want to make than the decision you made about the situation from within the situation. This has given you some distance, some clarity, that's one possibility. And there's also another possibility which would be the opposite. I'm afraid.
Oh. Uh-oh.
And that is depending on what sort of a character you are. When we come away from a situation, particularly if the situation is a relationship, there is sometimes a tendency to idealize the relationship, to forget about all the things that we found difficult about the relationship, and to get in touch with the real essence of the relationship, the love we feel underneath all the difficulties. And this could give us an idealistic view of the relationship. And so it wouldn't necessarily be a more accurate view. I just give you that as another possibility. I would still favor the first interpretation. I would still suspect that the decision you make here is closer to your heart. But I just give you the second possibility just as a kind of precaution.
I actually think that the second possibility is exactly what I did when I was home.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And there was a lot of mind play and a lot of imagination and fantasy.
Yes.
And I think that coming here stripped that bare.
That would be my intuition, that this was, the decision that you have here comes from a deeper place in you than the decision that you made 2 weeks ago that was influenced by the situation itself.
Yes, yes. So is there, you had given a few sort of recommendations, I think, or guidelines when you were talking about, for instance, making the decision whether or not to marry someone, which is not the case that I'm involved in right now, but it's similar. Could you, I mean, do you recall what you said? I actually, I couldn't exactly understand about how we make a decision. Yeah.
What I normally say in one way or another is to do exactly what you've done this week, is to make a decision that comes from the deepest possible place in ourselves, and that is not influenced by the local temporal elements in the situation. So if we're in the situation itself, that the local temporal elements of the situation are sometimes so clamorous that we can't get in touch with what we really feel beneath them. So that's why sometimes it's necessary to take some distance, and that's what you've done here. Not just take a distance from the situation itself, but more importantly, to take a distance from your own thoughts and feelings about the situation, and to get in touch with something deeper in yourself, and to allow the decision to come from there.
May I just ask one other question, and it's really concerning how we view other people in our lives, in the sense that if someone has demonstrated a pattern or of repeatedly doing things that are less than loving, and we come from a place of love and believe that everyone can develop spiritually and yearn for the other to develop in that fashion, and believe, because you sense the humanity, you sense the awareness, you connect on that level as well, which is perhaps what drew you to that relationship to begin with. But experientially, over a period of time, there really is no change. So at what point do you actually say, well, I think this person is not going to change in this lifetime? You know, like if you don't want to meet them at their level of consciousness, when do you make a decision like that?
I think when you are absolutely convinced that you, on your own and together with your companion, if you're referring to a long-term relationship, have done everything possible to explore the situation. And then you've done it all over again, and then you've done it all over again. You've tried once, you tried twice, you tried 3 times. You've done everything you possibly can, both yourself, individually. You've explored whatever it is you think you may possibly be contributing to the situation. And you also explore the dynamic between you. Now, how we do that varies. You may do it, you obviously do it alone in the privacy of your own heart. You obviously do it with your companion, and you may do it with the help of a third party who can see dynamics, patterns in the relationship that we may not be aware of. So whatever we do to explore the situation, we do it again, and we do it again. So we're absolutely sure we've done everything we could possibly do. And when we're sure about that, and know that the situation is now not going to change, then we have a decision to make. Am I willing to live like this for the rest of my life or not? And then we have to be courageous. If the answer is no, we have to be courageous and bold. And in fact, if the answer is yes, we also have to be courageous. But we should be very honest and not go on. For instance, if the situation is not going to change, if we have had enough experience to know, no, this situation is not going to change, we should face that fact, not fool ourselves, and then decide, am I going to stay or not? And of course, there are many factors that will need to be taken into account. Not just is the situation intolerable for me, but does the other person is the other person sick, for instance? Do they depend on me? So there's all sorts of factors will come into it.
Thank you. Thank you.
But just one thing to add to that, resignation is not a good basis for a relationship. I would be reluctant to resign yourself to a situation unless there's a very good reason. A very good reason would be a medical reason or something like that, but don't mistake resignation for surrender. It's often confused on the non-dual path. People think they're surrendering or allowing, welcoming, which would be a transcendence of the ego. Resignation is just pure ego.